you're working out on sensory integration therapy, right? Okay, so let's start with this. So first sense here, what we are starting with is tactile sense, and it is a sense of touch, right? It's visible to all. Can somebody confirm?
Yes, ma'am. Visible.
Yeah. So we are starting with tactile sense, that is your sense of touch. So every one of us from infancy onwards need constant tactile stimulation to keep us organized and functioning. So suppose when baby is crying and just mama holds the child is organized, right? And he's calm. So what the mother has used, it's only the touch, right? So tactile information is received through receptors that are present in the skin from head to toe. So from all in the body, from head to toe, you have got tactile receptors. And these sensations are external and they come from stimuli which is outside our body, right? Oh, I think have not started with the recording. Okay, I'll do that. Yeah. So these are some of the touch sensations that are light touch, deep pressure, skin stretch, vibration, movement, temperature, and pain. So these are certain touch sensations that we have got. So I'll be placing some photos and you will be telling me that it is what kind of touch. So if I place this, so this is what out of the touches? Is it a light touch, deep pressure? What do you think?
Deep pressure.
Deep pressure. Now this?
Light touch.
Light touch.
What about this?
Temperature.
Temperature. Very good. That tell you about hotness or coldness. And this is a vibration. We all know.
Vibration.
Yeah. And it's a
Skin stretch.
Skin stretch.
skin stretch. Good. So we are actively touching or passively being touched by something, some people, furniture, clothes, spoon, and other things. So even if we are stark naked, then also our foot is touching to the ground and the air is touching our skin. So we are constantly being touched by something or other, whether actively or passively. Am I clear with this or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah? Okay. So there are two components of tactile sense. One is defensive or protective and the other is discriminate. So the protective or defense system, the purpose is to alert us from potentially bad or good stimuli. The receptors of this is present on the hairy skin of the head, face and genitals. And the stimulus is the light touch that causes these receptors to respond. Right? So there are two types. One is alarming and one is charming. So alarming is when the mosquito is sitting on your skin, your nervous system will alarm you and you respond negatively to that touch because it is alarming for you. And another example is of charming when the mama is giving you a kiss or she's patting you, you respond positively to that touch because it is charming for you. So are you all clear with the light touch, the different types? One is alarming and one is charming.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay. So for light touch, the modulation of touch sensation improves as we interact with other people and objects. We learn to inhibit sensation that do not matter and to tolerate terrifying touches that would have irritated us in infancy. So for this now, what typical example I give you. So when you were a child, maybe certain texture of clothes, you don't want to wear them at all. But as an adult now, maybe you learn to wear those kind of clothes when you are going to marriages or a party, even if they are bothering you, you learn to tolerate that. It happens or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So we usually ignore light touch sensation as they are not grabbing our attention the way the deep pain, the extremes in temperatures do, right? So the another thing is discriminate. So discriminate will tell you to discriminate what kind of touch we are feeling, whether it is the roughness of daddy's skin or the smoothness of mama's skin, or when you are touching different kinds of fruit. So just by touch, you know, it's a banana, it's an orange, it's a pineapple, or it's an apple. Yeah. So you are using your discriminatory sense there. Yeah. So through this, we gain conscious insight, intuition, and knowledge about the world. Yeah. So that is your discriminate sense. Next is we have got discriminative system. The purpose is to remember and interpret the meaning of touch. The receptors of this is present on the skin, especially on the palms and the fingertips, or the soles of feet and mouth and tongue. The stimulus is deep touch or pressure. That is the stimulus that causes these receptors to respond. So when we have got tactile dysfunction, yeah. So tactile dysfunction is what? It is inefficient processing in the brain for sensation that is perceived through skin. So the child has difficulty with touching and being touched by objects and other people. That is tactile dysfunction. So in this, we have got two types when we talk about sensory modulation disorder. So one is tactile overresponsivity, or we say it as tactile defensiveness, and the other type is tactile seeker, or we say it as tactile craver also, right? So when we say tactile overresponsivity or tactile defensiveness, these children respond negatively and emotionally to the unexpected light touch sensation, and they perceive most of the touch sensation as uncomfortable, scary, or terrifying. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
So they are responding with fight, flight, or fright or freeze responses. So they may wrestle in arms as you try to dress or lift him. So you remember I talked about when mama papa tries to pick the child is stiffening their body, they get upset. So that could be a sign of tactile overresponsivity. When mama papa wants to dress them up, usually children will extend their arms or legs so that they are able to dress them appropriately. But here the child will be wrestling with them. He won't be extending his arm comfortably in order to dress. He may kick or punch or scream at anyone who comes too close for comfort also. Right? So child may flee from the contacts with the finger paints, pet and people, and touch of unfamiliar people will be more intolerable to them. They withdraw passively by simply avoiding the objects or people that distress them. So that is why, you know, when you ask them to stand in line also, so they won't be standing in the line because the unexpected touches will be making them uncomfortable. So that is why we say they have difficulty in standing in lines. Maybe it is tactile overresponsivity. Okay, so they're afraid to take baths. They start to cry when he has to take baths, tensed when his cuffs get wet at sink when they are doing hand washing. And sometimes the parents will say, ma'am, you are saying my child is having tactile responsivity, but he always asks for a hugs and back rubs. And he's carrying something in his hand like dinosaur or his favorite toy. So how you can say the child is having tactile overresponsivity? So what appropriate answer you can give to the parents at that time, because they are asking for the hugs or the back rubs from the familiar touches. They are not asking from any other person, right? And why they are carrying something in their hand? Because they want to block their hands or they want to jam their hands with something familiar touch. So that is why they are holding their toy. It's a familiar touch that they are having. Or sometimes what they do know, they are putting their hands into the pocket so that they are not touching anything which is unexpected. Am I clear with this?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. So that's an example of typical and atypical modulation. So if we say here, see here, the girl is showing fight, fright reactions when the mother is combing her hairs. So the pulling of the hairs is bothering her so much, and she fight back with the mother, kick her, and she moves away and saying her, you are hurting me. So in the another example of typical modulation, you will see the same thing, but here the child maturing neurological system is giving her the inputs. Even if it is bothering, then also it is okay. I need to comb my hairs. So she learned how to control that. Right? Am I clear with the typical atypical modulation example?
Yes,
Ma'am,
ma'am.
so someone very familiar with the girl was touching the hair. That is why she is happy.
So
Or,
here also the mother is doing that, no? In atypical modulation.
ma'am, can you please explain this again?
Okay. So in atypical modulation, the child is reacting negatively when her mother tries to brush her hair. She is reacting as you are hurting me. The defensiveness ruling her reactions to touch. So she is producing fight and flight reactions to that. Now this is clear. And in
Ma'am,
terms
this.
of typical
Huh.
modulation, the child is tolerating when the mother is brushing her hair. The pulling was there, but her maturing neurological system allows her to suppress the flight and fright responses.
It's
Correct?
because she's maturing in the system. That's it's the only reason. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when you are combing your hairs may be pulling, but you won't be shouting at that time, no, or
Yes, ma'am.
crying. So you learned how to suppress your fight and fright responses. Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So
Ma'am,
I'm
that
sure.
means typical modulation is the expected response, or is it? Can we call it as normal?
Yeah, it's a normal response, no? Correct? Atypical modulation is not a normal response. Here, the child is getting a fight or flight responses. Either she will run away from that situation or she'll be fighting back with mother. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Next is tactile seeker.
Ma'am, I
So,
have a question. मैम ओवर सीकिंग रिस्पॉन्स के लिए अगर बच्चा लाइक अपने आप को बहुत शिवर कर रहा है, फिज बना रहा है, शेक कर रहा है, तो वो भी उसी में ही आएगा.
I didn't
लाइक
get you.
लास्ट
Can you
स्लाइड
explain again, Anna?
मैम लास्ट स्लाइड ओवर सीकिंग अगर बच्चे को अगर ओवर सीक कर रहा है टेक्टाइल के लिए, वो अपने फिज को बहुत ज्यादा शेक कर रहा है, एक फिज बनाना एंड पूरी बॉडी को शिवर करना एंड एनिमल हमेशा अपने हैंड में रखना, तो क्या वो भी उसी में ही आएगा?
So, could be over responsive. No, that is why he's jamming his hands with some toy because he don't want some unexpected things to be touching him.
Okay, and they don't want to touch any texture
Yeah,
like
that is why we are
water.
saying no over responsive.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Okay. So the tactile seeker is the seeker who needs more and more deep pressure, more skin contacts. He may touch and feel everything inside. When he's walking, he's running his hand over the furniture or the wall. So they are called tactile seekers. They are seeking for touches. So even if the object is inappropriate to touch, such as hot candle, dog's tail, he will like to touch. He may seek surfaces and textures that are uncomfortable, like rubbing his hand over the rough tree bark or walking barefoot on gravel. So these are all tactile seekers. They want to seek each and everything, whatever is there in the site, right? So they get too close to other people, bumping and touching them. Messi plays the true love. He will look for and find puddles. He like to play in mud, clay, glue or paint. And he constant wallows in the messy material, ruins their clothes and trashes the classroom. They are all tactile seekers. So here let's take an example. So teacher is teaching some sight words in the classroom where children are practicing writing sight words in the shaving cream with the tray. So that's a typical child. But if you see an atypical child who's a seeker, instead of making the sight words in the sand tray, he has spread the cream all over his hand, on the tray, on the other side, everywhere. The cream is all over his hands, arms, and face. Yeah, so that is seeker. So that's the example for a typical child and an atypical child about tactile seeker. I'm sure it is clear. See,
Yes,
they are
ma'am.
that much seeking, no, that their learning is getting impaired. They are so busy in seeking that tactile sensation. So whatever teacher is teaching in the classroom, they are not listening and paying attention to that. So that is why we are saying, see, everybody has got some sensory things to do. Maybe I also don't like putting my hand into the sands. But it is not impacting the way that it is causing hindrance into my day-to-day functioning. So here, if you see the atypical child, here it is causing like difficulty with her day-to-day functioning, like learning in the classroom here. Right?
Ma'am, there are some children, they don't like to touch, like they don't like to make their hands dirty or sticky. They don't like that sensation. So what can that child be called?
See, again, I'll say when I am saying he is having tactile over responsivity, yeah,
Yeah.
if it is impacting his day-to-day functioning because of that touch. Are you getting this or no?
Yeah. No, because you just now said that this child is a tactile seeker. He has put the cream all over on his hands and everywhere, wherever he is like working. So some children they don't like this kind of thing. They don't like to even touch the thing, whatever we are
The
saying.
example of tactile seeker, that could be an example of tactile over responsive where the child doesn't like to put his hand also into that sand tray or a shaving cream because they are showing defensive behaviors for that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But if I tell you, maybe there are some normal children also, they don't want to put their fingers into this. So what they are doing, no, they are using a stick. So, but they are learning, no, that whatever teacher is teaching in classroom, they are practicing that.
Correct.
So it is not impacting their day-to-day functioning, no, in classroom.
Yes.
That's the difference between the disorder. That is why we are saying it's a sensory processing disorder. It is impacting the child's social life, maybe day-to-day functioning, his emotional life.
Yeah. Even
Is
while
not,
eating,
yeah.
some children they don't like to touch the roti because they don't like that touch. So they like to eat with the spoon. They don't like to
Yeah.
make their hands dirty.
Even I've seen normal children also, they don't, some of them, they don't want, they'll say, sabji khane se haath ganda ho jayega. I don't want to eat with that. Mama will make me eat, or they will be using fork while eating.
Yeah, exactly. I've seen this. Yeah.
Yeah, it happens. It happens normally also, no? So it is not impacting the day-to-day functioning of the child. No, somehow he learned that if he want to eat, he can use forks instead.
Correct.
Yeah. See, whenever we are saying the term disorder, we should understand that whenever we are using term disorder, it is impacting the child's social life, occupational life, and day-to-day life. Then only it's a disorder. Otherwise, it is not a disorder.
Right.
Otherwise, you will see everybody in that frame only.
Yes, ma'am.
Am I clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So maybe as an adult also, when you are going to a party, you don't want to mess your hands, and you are eating with a fork, then it's okay, no?
Yeah.
So we should understand from that point of view.
Yes, ma'am.
Correct. Yeah. Are you all clear what she's asking?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, because understanding of that is very important. Otherwise, you'll see sensory processing disorder in every other child, no? But that's not a disorder.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So now we are coming to vestibular sense. It's a sense of where we stand in the world. So it is responsible for informing us whether our body is stationary or it is moving. Or if it is moving, how fast it is moving and in what direction it is moving. So vestibular system has to do something with the balance and movement, and the center is in the inner ear. It allows us to move smoothly and efficiently. When the vestibular system is fully functioning, we are secure and organized enough in our bodies to be able to attend and respond to all other senses. So a child with well-developed vestibular system is confident and safe during the movement activities, and he is able to start and stop activity calmly and with control. Right? So he is comfortable while climbing, while swinging, while doing somersaulting, jumping, and knowing that his body will adapt and he'll be able to balance himself and keep himself from falling and getting hurt. So that means your vestibular system is working well. So the receptors of it is present in the hair cells in the inner ear, which is like a vestibule for sensory messages to pass through. And they will register each and every movement we make, every changes in head position, even if they are most subtle ones. And some inner ear structures receive information about where our head and body are in space when we are motionless, or we move slowly, or we tilt our head in any linear direction, that is forward, backward, or side to side. So this is one practical that you can do. So here what you need to do, so wherever you are sitting, you can sit and you can close your eyes and tip your head to the right with eyes closed only. Come back to the center. Tip your head to the left side. Come back to the center, upright posture. Now again, open your eyes. So see you are upright again, and your vestibular system has done its job. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So the other receptors, like the other structures in the inner ear, they receive the information about the direction also, in which direction you are moving, with what speed you are moving your head and body, when we are moving rapidly in space or the diagonals or in circles, like when you are going in merry-go-round. So this is another activity that you can do, or I think you already have done this. When you move around like this for long periods of time, your vestibular system will tell you that you had enough of this movement and you need to stop it. Otherwise, you'll feel dizzy and you may fall down. Right?
Yes, ma'am. I don't like this.
Yeah. Some people doesn't like this because even when they're watching somebody is moving in this direction, no, they feel like dizzy or nauseated, and they'll say, "तुम ऐसा मत करो, मुझे चक्कर आ रहा है आपको देखकर." Right? Okay. So there are two components of vestibular sense. One is linear movement. Linear movements are generally soothing and calming, and then we have got rotatory movements that are generally stimulating. Correct? So when we talk about linear movement, it is back and forth, side to side, or up and down. These are linear movements. They are slow or low linear movement. It is not challenging the gravity, and they are generally soothing. So like when you are holding the baby in your hand and you are giving a gentle bouncing. So it is a linear movement. The child feel happy about it and he is calmed when he is crying also. When, let's say, when we are sitting on a chair, the rocking chair, again, it is a linear movement. When you are sitting on that, it will give you calming. Even when you are anxious, want to think something, the answers are not coming to you, you sit down on that bouncing chair for some time and you feel yourself calm and relaxed. Right? Even when we are upset also, we sit there for certain times. No, you sit on platform swing also, you like that. So it is not challenging your gravity and they are generally soothing or calming. And when we talk about rotatory movements like moving round and round, so this is some of the examples of rotatory movements, spinning oneself on a tight axis. So child will plant one foot on the ground and they will rotate their body, spin their body. That's called spinning oneself on a tight axis, or going on merry-go-round, swinging high on long rope swing, or could be tire swing. So these are all rotatory movements. And rotatory movement will stimulate your vestibular system and it feels good, and that's why it is so much fun. Yeah? So they are stimulatory movements. They are not soothing or calming. Okay. So when we have got vestibular dysfunction, so what is vestibular dysfunction? It is the inefficient processing in the brain of sensation that is received through inner ear. The child with vestibular problem has difficulty processing information about the gravity, balance, and movement through space. The child may not be able to develop the postural responses needed to keep upright. Like when they are writing, you'll see they are slouching their body. The postural responses that are needed to keep them straight or upright, they may not have developed. So when you take the developmental history from the parents, no, they'll say, my child has never crawled, and they, instead of crawling, they started to walk, and the walking has come in later. It is not usually at 12 to, let's say the usual walking pattern is 10 to 12 months, no? So here the walking is also delayed. She may slump when she sits and lean her head on her hands when she is at the table. So these are some examples of vestibular dysfunction. So here, when we talk about sensory modulation disorder, we have got two types. One is vestibular overresponsivity and vestibular seeker. So in vestibular overresponsivity, we have got two types. One is intolerance to movement. The child is so intolerant to movement that he doesn't like to move at all. And the second is gravitational insecurity, that I think most of you have already heard about, that the children have got gravitational insecurity. That is why when they're climbing stairs up or down, they are so scared. Yeah, either they want the mama and papa should pick them up, or they are climbing not while standing, like while sitting, they are moving onto the stairs. And the next is vestibular seeker, those who crave for more and more vestibular movements. So first we're talking about vestibular overresponsivity. The vigorous movements or the possibility of being moved causes child with vestibular overresponsivity to respond negatively and emotionally, or they become overexcited. So one is intolerance to touch. So that's an example that has been given. So typical children, they enjoy playing on this musical chair, whereas the child who is intolerant to movement has difficult time in playing it. He is clinging with the seats, his forehead will be sweaty. He doesn't bother to stand up once he gets a chance to sit, because he is so intolerant to movement, right? So for her, linear movement is distressing, especially when it is rapid. Even when they are riding in car, particularly in backseat, it is causing car sickness to them. They may avoid riding a bicycle, sliding or swinging at the playground, or just walking down the street. Also, they are intolerant to movement. So if linear movement is distressing, rotatory movement will be more distressing for them. They may become easily dizzy and nauseated or on a tire swing. Even watching someone or something spinning can make them feel dizzy. So that's an example of intolerant to movement. I'm sure you all are clear with this.
Ma'am, will you share this, because we are not able, like I'm not able to write so fast whatever you are
Yeah,
showing.
the notes will be given for sensory processing disorders, whatever. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Another example, another type is gravitational insecurity. So again, the movement for this child is not fun, it is scary. When the head is moving, they respond, I'm falling, I'm out of control, and they are overreacting with fight and flight responses, or even the fight responses also. When they're passively moved, they may resist being picked up, rocked, or pushed, even in the stroller. They become angry and stubborn when someone suggests riding in the car or sledding down a hill, because they have got gravitational insecurity, right? They don't like to go on swings, on stairs, so because they are so gravitationally insecure. Okay, this is one of the example of gravitational insecurity. So there is a class picnic, and in the jungle, children are enjoying moving and climbing on the thick vines. Their vestibular system permits them to enjoy and exploring gravity when they are swinging. But on the same trip, there was a child who is having gravitational insecurity. When he is moving also, he is watching each and every step, whether it is safe to go or no. He is so silent and slow in his responses. He stands aloof while his classmates is swinging on the vines. he sensed that if his feet will leave the ground, he will fall into the void. Right? So even when he is walking onto the uneven surfaces, that is not safe for him. That is why he's looking each and every step when he is moving on that jungle trip. Right? Am I clear with this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The another example, another type of sensory modulation disorder is vestibular seeker. So they seek for more and more. So child has an increased tolerance to movement. They seeks and enjoys a great deal of vigorous activity to satisfy their sensory need. The child may seek to resist gravity in unusual ways also. So you'll see children are using unusual positions. They may assume upside positions, hanging over the edge of the bed. The child may frequently seek intense movement sensations such as jumping from the top of the jungle gym, running fast, climbing. Yeah, so all these activities children like to do. They may crave linear movements and they enjoy rocking or swinging for longer period of times. They may especially seek rotatory movements such as drilling in circles, shaking her head vigorously from side to side, or spinning on the playground, or going on merry-go-round or tire swing. So they may shift from one activity to another and always seeking for a new thrill. So for these children, you'll see their attention span will be very short, even for the activities they enjoy. They are constantly on the go. They move without caution. So that is why we see children with vestibular seeker. They don't know how much height they have to jump from. They will not be using any kind of caution at all. And they don't have a good motor coordination. Right? Are you all clear with the vestibular sense?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So the next sense that we are talking about is the proprioceptive sense. So proprioceptive sense, as we all know, it tells us about our own movements and the body position. It's like your internal body eyes. Right? So in layman terms, we say it as internal body eyes. So proprioception informs us where our body or body parts are in space. So when you are stretching your arms or hands also, so even without the aid of vision, you know this is your right hand and you have lifted it up, and this is your left hand that is down, or your legs are straight or bent. So even without the use of vision, you are able to tell that because you have got internal eyes of the body, right? So how our body parts relate to one another, how much or how quickly our muscles are stretching or extending, how fast our body is moving, how our timing is, and how much force our muscle put forth. So just by looking, or you know how much pressure you need or how much force you need to give to lift that table. How much force you need to give when you are looking at a bucket of water. How much force you need to give in when you are looking at a soft toy. Just by looking, you are able to tell that, right? And you are ready for that. So receptors for it, the proprioception or the position sense or the muscle sense, we say it as, and the receptors are mostly in the muscles and the skin, and they are also in the joints, ligaments, tendons, and the connective tissue. The stimulus for these receptors is stretch. So when the muscles or skin stretch or contract, the body parts bend and straighten. Messages inform the central nervous system about where and how that movement has occurred. Right? So even when we are motionless, we receive continuous proprioceptive messages without being consciously aware of them. So like if I tell you example now, also if you are sitting, so right now also, if you close your eyes, you know that you are sitting on a chair, your foot is touching to the ground, your hand is on the table, you are holding a pen, and you have a book in front of you, or you are having a laptop in front of you. So that means you are relying on your proprioception and not the vision to tell you all these things. Right? So proprioception gives you this information without the need to look at your feet and hands. Right? Okay. So there are two components of proprioceptive system. One is tactile proprioceptive. So like I've given you example. When we are using our touch and body position simultaneously. So proprioception is never alone. Either it is with tactile or it is with vestibular system. So they are connected to both. So like when you are holding a pencil efficiently to write, so you are using both tactile also and proprioceptive also. If I give you example, so holding the pencil is giving you the touch sensation, but how much pressure you need to put forth on paper is your proprioceptive system. Right or no?
Yes,
You
ma'am.
know how much pressure you need to give so that there are no holes, or how much pressure you need to give so that it is visible also. Otherwise, the child may use either dark writing or light writing. If they are using sometimes, if they are not aware how much pressure they need to put forth on pencil, the pencil tips will be breaking very frequently. Right? So these are some examples of tactile proprioceptive. Similarly, when we talk about vestibular proprioceptive, it is simultaneous position of head and body position when the child is actively moving, like when you are catching or throwing a ball, when you are climbing a stair. Are you all clear with tactile proprioceptive and vestibular proprioceptive?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So what is the importance? The function of proprioception are to increase the body awareness and to govern motor control and motor planning. Proprioception also contributes to visual discrimination. The more we move, the better we make the sense of what we see. It allows us to walk smoothly, to carry a suitcase, to sit, to stand, to stretch or to lie down. So it is also helpful in our arousal level. So arousal level, we all know, like a proprioceptive activity will help you to increase the arousal level, or when the child is having lower arousal level, and if you give some proprioceptive activities, it will be maintaining the arousal level to optimum level. So it says it brings you up when you are way down and down when you are way up. So proprioceptive experiences calm and organize us, bringing us back to the center when we have been under or overstimulated in any of the other senses. So like if you give a activity of hanging on a trapeze bar, can arouse a person who has been sitting all the day. Right? And on the other hand, if the person is overstimulated, is having high arousal level, and if you hang the child on a trapeze bar for certain time, it will lower his arousal level. It will bring him down. Right or no? The same activity of hanging on a trapeze will work out on both, on high arousal also and low arousal also. Are you getting clear or no?
No, ma'am.
No. In simple terms, I'll say, if you are sitting for the whole day without doing any movement activity, and suddenly I'll come and I'll hang you on monkey bar, it will stimulate you or no?
Yes, ma'am. Like body pressure gives you
No, it's not about body pressure, no.
Yeah.
It's about
Let's take another example, not hanging. So let's say you are sitting whole day and then I suddenly come and I have placed you on treadmill. So what will
Yeah.
happen? It's stimulating you, no?
Yes.
Yeah. So from low arousal level, you have come to optimum arousal.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, on the other side, you are having very high arousal level. And I have given you some heavy pressure activities or heavy activities, like maybe again moving on the treadmill. So whatever high arousal level you are having, and let's say I have asked you to walk for 15 minutes or 20 minutes on that treadmill. Again, your arousal level will be coming to optimum, no? Because you had enough of the movement then.
Yes, ma'am. Got
Yeah,
it.
so that is why I'm saying it will be working out on both.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay. So like if you are just having a very low arousal level, so maybe working out on treadmill for 5 minutes also will work out like a wonder for you for maintaining your optimal arousal level. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so next is movement in time and space. So when you are tying shoelaces, it requires a good proprioception of the muscles and the fingers coordinated with good visual and tactile discrimination. But now as an adult, even if when the light is closed, there is a complete darkness, still you will be able to hold the loops and make and do shoelacing, right? Because you have got the internal body eyes, right or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so that's an example of proprioception. So when we have got proprioceptive dysfunction, so manipulating objects will be difficult for kids. Either they will exert too much pressure or too little pressure on objects. Even they struggle to turn the doorknobs and regularly breaking the toys and the pencil points. This is what I've told you, when they're writing, they don't know how much pressure they need to put on the paper. So when they're holding the glass which is filled up with milk, they are spilling it every time. Again, they don't know how much pressure they need to give while holding that glass of milk. They may have poor grip on heavy objects such as buckets of water or lightweight objects such as forks and combs. He may also have trouble lifting and holding on to the objects of different weights. Because of poor body awareness, the child needs to use his eyes to see what his body is doing. Ordinary tasks such as orienting his limbs, his body to get dressed, zipping a jacket, buttoning a shirt, or getting out of bed in the dark becomes very difficult without the aid of vision. Usually we don't use vision, no, because we have got the proprioceptive internal body eyes. So when we are buttoning also, we are not looking whether I am buttoning it correctly or no. We are using our proprioceptive sense for that. So child may be fearful when moving in space because he lacks postural stability. So there are two kinds of sensory modulation disorder here also. One is proprioceptive overresponsivity or defensiveness, and the other is proprioceptive seeker. Those who crave for more and more movement. So first we are talking about proprioceptive overresponsivity. So they avoid stretching and contracting their muscles. They may have poor body awareness and may be rigid and tense and uncoordinated. They lack internal eyes to help him see what their body parts are doing. And he will avoid all the playground activities with a lot of sensory input such as jumping, hopping, running, bouncing, crawling, and rolling. They don't like to do all these activities, and he may resist getting into unusual positions also, like moving like animals or moving on to the monkey bars. They won't like that at all, right? Because they have got proprioceptive overresponsivity. So here we have got one case of tactile overresponsive child. So I'll tell you this case and then we'll talk more. So what happened one time during the summer holidays, the mother has chosen a hobby for a child, that is a dance. So the child was a case of proprioceptive overresponsivity. So when teacher was teaching the dance steps, there was no mirror in that room. So child was not able to do or follow the dance step because when he is lifting his hand and arms, he has to see whether I'm moving my arm correctly or whether I'm moving my legs correctly or no. So dancing was not a fun for him. And at home he said, "Mama, I don't like dancing and I don't want to go there." Because he was all getting confused with the directions, with the steps, what teacher is teaching. And he has to use his vision because his body lack internal eyes. Yeah. So when mother decided, let's put him in swimming classes. So in the swimming classes, after hearing it, the child becomes so excited and happy, and he gone for shopping to buy his clothes and the goggles, whatever stuff he wanted for it. He purchased that and he was very excited for the next morning. And the next morning when he has gone there, mother was not allowed. And the child has to, first thing, he has to change his clothes. So in that changing room, again, there was no mirror. So do you think he was able to change his clothes nicely?
No, ma'am. Because he was not aware of his body positions and the movements.
Even he was not aware of the front and the back of the shirt that he has to wear for swimming. He is not aware of the zippers. There was no mirror at all, so he cannot do the zippers, see the front and back, whether he is dressed appropriately or no, and where he has to put the goggles also when he has to go for swimming. So nothing was when he has came out of that room, no, he was looking very shabby. Then he has gone to the coach. The coach asked him to go inside the pool. So he doesn't know whether he has to look outside the pool or towards the pool. Then somehow he managed to go inside the pool. Then again, the coach is saying that you have to move your hand, both of your hands, like this is the movement that you have to make, and simultaneously you have to move your legs also. So, do you think child was able to do that and follow the instruction what the coach is saying at that time for swimming?
Difficult.
Definitely, it is difficult because the child lack body awareness. The child lack internal eyes. So again, when he is moving his right hand, he has to see. When he is moving his left hand, he has to see. And legs, he is not moving because he cannot see them. So again, the swimming is no fun for him. Right? So that's an example of proprioceptive over responsivity. Am I clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So when we talk about proprioceptive seeker, they are sensory seeker and they are bumper and crasher. They crave active movement of pushing, pulling, making crash landings. Sometimes you will see kids with proprioceptive seeker, no, they will be doing crash landings and throwing himself to the ground, lunging into the walls, tables, and people. They crave passive movement to the muscle and joints, as well as they like strong bear hugs and being pressed and squeezed. They like all these movements. They are proprioceptive seeker. They're always seeking for proprioceptive input. They may bite, kick, hit, and they behave sometimes in an aggressive manner also. Because again, when they are biting on their hands also, no, they are seeking that. They are seeking the proprioceptive inputs around their jaw. They like to eat things that are hard biting things. So some sensory cravers will engage in self-stimulation such as biting their own skin, banging their head against the crib or a wall, right? Sometimes you'll see the children are using their wrist and they are banging their head out of it. Again, that's a proprioceptive seeker.
Yes, ma'am.
Huh? Okay, so here that's a case for seeking. The child enjoys carrying a cart and pushing it here and there. Even push the cart with his forehead, with his elbow, with his shoulder. He liked bumping the cart here and there, but suddenly he bumped into a floor sack and all the things are out. So you see, whatever things he's watching now, he's putting everything inside it. Yeah, they like heavy activities to be done. So it is impacting your body awareness. So efficient proprioception provides information about body awareness. The child with poor proprioception may be unaware of his body position and body parts. So I've given this example. So children are enjoying doing stretching activities, but the child who is having poor body awareness, he's just looking. And when he's moving his hand upwards, he has to see whether I'm moving it correctly or no. Right? So it is impacting the motor control also. So proprioception provides information that is necessary to coordinate the basic gross motor and fine motor movement. But the child with poor proprioception has difficulty controlling large motor movements such as getting from one position to another and fine motor movement like grasping an object. So it will be impacting the child's motor control as well. They have problems with gradation of movement also. That means how much pressure to exert as we flex or extend our muscles. So we can judge what quantity and quality of muscle movement should be there and how forceful we should be moving. Such as when we look at a fluffy ball, we know we don't have to put much effort to pick it up. Or when we see a big heavy carton, so we just by looking, we know the gradation that we need to give a lot of efforts to pick it up. So that's called gradation of movement, and the proprioceptive input will be providing you that. Am I clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So it's an example of gradation of movement. Suppose you are at picnic and you set down your lemonade or a cold drink on a table beside someone else's empty cup. So, and without the aid of vision, you just picked up that glass from the table and you picked up somebody's else cup which is empty. So when you were lifting that, you were not getting that sense that this is an empty cup and this is not mine, because I have taken only one sip of it. So this much it should be filled up. So your proprioception has not told you about the gradation of movement. Am I clear with this? Yeah, so that's about grading of the movement. So are you all clear with the senses that we have talked about today? That is tactile sense, vestibular sense, and proprioceptive sense.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. So give me a second and it will be a 2 minutes break. I'll be doing a short sensory profile with you and then we will end up today's class. In the next class, we will be starting our day with SPM, that is sensory processing measure. And we will cover the interventions for sensory processing disorders. Okay? Yeah, give me a second, I'll place that for you.
Can you share the behavior modification material?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, I am searching for that only. Most probably by tonight or tomorrow, I'll send that.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Next, read. Read.
Sir, will we get the presentation also? Because whatever
No,
ma'am
we
is
do not
teaching
send the
us,
presentation.
so the material whatever ma'am is showing us, we have not written. We are not able to write it down
Yeah, that's what the
simultaneously.
notes having, na?
Okay. So for every class, you will be sharing the new material.
No, it's like a compiled notes for different topics. Like sensory one you will get, then for behavior the other one you will get. So it's like that.
Okay. So for so sir, can you share like for 2 days also?
No,
Today's
once
topic
the
is
sensory will
yet
complete,
not completed.
For sensory?
That's a whole module on sensory processing disorders, no?
Okay.
From understanding to interventions.
Yeah, because
till the
today
last
we
class
had
it is
lot of
like,
material, like we learnt a lot of things. But if we don't read it again, we'll forget. So if we get the material,
no,
definitely
it's
we
not
can.
possible, ma'am. It will be sent as one
Yeah, because
material.
in the next class, your course will be ending up. So at that day, you will get the notes. Don't worry.
Okay, okay, ma'am.
Okay, so today we are doing short sensory profile for doing the diagnosis of sensory processing disorders. So let's understand this. Okay, so instructions for doing short sensory profile is use the following to mark your responses. So here you are asking the things from the parents. So always means when presented with the opportunity, your child always respond in this manner 100% of the time. Frequently is when presented with the opportunity, your child frequently respond in this manner 75% of the time. Occasionally means when presented with the opportunity, your child occasionally respond in this manner 50% of the time. Seldom is when presented with the opportunity, your child seldom responds in this manner 25% of the time, and never is 0% of the time. So that's how you will explain the instructions to the parent, whether it is 100%, 75%, 50% of the time, 25% of the time, or 0% of the time. Right? Okay, so first we are talking about tactile sensitivity. So The first statement says expresses distresses when grooming. Like the child fights or cries during hair cutting, face washing, fingernail cutting. So we all know that these are all examples of tactile over responsivity that we have talked about just now. It prefers long sleeve clothing when it is warm or short sleeves when it is cold. So let's try to finish this and we will understand the scoring, how to do. So let's say expresses distress with grooming. Yes, he frequently do this. Prefers long sleeve clothing when it is warm or short sleeves when it is cold. No, he never does that. Avoid going barefoot, especially in sand or grass. Let's say always. Reacts aggressively and emotionally to touch. Always. Withdraws from splashing water. Let's say occasionally. Has difficulty standing in line or close to other people. Yes, always. Rubs or scratches out a spot that has been touched. Let's say here it is never. So we have filled out tactile sensitivity or over responsivity that we have talked about in today's class also. Now the next thing is taste and smell sensitivity. Avoid certain tastes or food smells that are typically part of other children's diet. Let's say yes, ma'am. Always. Will eat only certain taste. And what are the things that he is eating? You can write that down. Yes, frequently. Limits self to particular food temperatures or textures. Always. You can ask to tell also what is the food temperature, whether it is hot, cold, lukewarm, warm. So whatever they want, they can write, they can tell you. And what texture specifically, whether it is crunchy or it is hard things, soft things, bland things. And child is picky eater, especially regarding food textures. So let's say again frequently. I'm doing it randomly. Then we have got movement sensitivity, become anxious or distressed when the feet leave the ground. You remember gravitational insecurity that we have talked about. So let's say in this case, occasionally, fears falling or heights. Let's say again frequently, dislike activities where head is upside down. So let's say always. Next is under responsive and seek sensation. Enjoys strange noises and seeks to make noise for noise sake. Never he do that. Seeks all kind of movement and this interferes with the daily routine. Can't sit still, fidgets. No. Becomes overly excitable during movement activity. No. Touches people and objects. No. Doesn't seem to notice when when face and hands are messy. Let's say if I want to put here is occasionally. Jumps from one activity to another so that it interferes with play. Let's say seldom. Leaves clothing twisted on body. Let's say always. So next is auditory filtering is distracted and has trouble functioning if there is lot of noise around. Let's say always. Appears not to hear what you say. For example, does not tune in to what you say, appears to ignore you frequently. Can't work with background noise. So never. Has trouble completing task when radio is on. Yes, let's say occasionally. Doesn't respond when name is being called, but you know the hearing is okay. Always. Has difficulty paying attention. Always. Seems to have weak muscles. No. Tires easily, especially when standing or holding particular body position. Let's say always. Has a weak grasp. Yes. Can't lift heavy objects. Weak in comparison to same age children. Props to support self even during the activity. Never. Poor endurance and tire easily. Let's say yes. Now you have done visual auditory sensitivity. We have talked about this also. Visual over responsivity and auditory over responsivity. So they are responding negatively to unexpected or loud noises. Cries or hides at noise of a vacuum cleaner, dog barking, hair dryer. Never. Holds hands over the ears to protect ears from sound. Never. is bothered by bright lights after others have adapted to it. You remember we have talked about this, yeah? Watches everyone when they move around the room. Never. Covers eyes or squints to protect eyes from light. Never. So that's how we have completed this short sensory profile that has got 38 items in this. Now for doing scoring, this is the scoring key that you have to use. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1 is always, 2 is frequently, 3 is occasionally, 4 is seldom, and 5 is never. So let's try to score this, whatever responses we have got. So remember it is 1 to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if you see this box, how much score we have got as a section raw score? Can somebody tell me?
10.
10? It can't be 10. 5
15.
plus 5 is 10.
15.
Never
14.
or always?
15. 18.
Let's do it together. 5 plus 5 is 10.
5.
14.
5.
Not 14, it is 13.
13, madam.
15, 16, 17, 18. So we
18.
got 18 at section raw score for tactile sensitivity. Then we move to next, that is taste, smell, sensitivity. So here in this case, how much we have got? 6.
6.
For movement sensitivity, how much we have got?
6.
6.
6.
For under responsive seek sensation,
28.
28.
28.
Good. Next, for auditory filtering, 13.
13, madam.
For low energy weak muscles,
15.
15. Okay. And for visual auditory sensitivity, it is 5, right?
25.
Yeah. So write these quickly in your rough notebook. 18 for tactile sensitivity. Taste smell sensitivity is 6. Movement sensitivity is again 6. Under responsive and seeking sensation, it is 28. Auditory filtering is 13. Low energy weak muscles is 15. Visual auditory sensitivity is 5. Have you all written this?
Ma'am, this is 25.
25.
25, okay. Done?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So now we have to fill this. You will be writing the section raw score for all of them. So tell me, what is the tactile sensitivity section raw score?
18.
18?
18, madam.
18. So it is not coming under typical performance. It's not a probable difference. It is definite difference. So definitely the child has got issues with tactile sensitivity. Next is taste, smell sensitivity.
6.
6 it was score.
Definite difference.
Again, definite difference. Movement sensitivity.
6.
6.
6. Again, child has got movement sensitivity also. What
Definite
about under responsive seeking sensation?
28.
28. So if we see here, it is coming where?
Probable difference.
Probable difference. Okay.
Ma'am, it will be
It is
typical
not probable
performance.
difference. It is
Typical
coming under
performance.
typical
Typical
performance.
Yeah,
Yeah,
typical performance.
it is typical performance. What about auditory filtering?
13, madam.
13. So it is coming where?
Definite difference.
Definite difference. Low energy weak muscles.
15.
15.
That is also definite difference.
Definite difference. Visual auditory sensitivity.
25.
It is typical performance. Next is taste smell sensitivity. 13. 15. Definite difference. Visual auditory sensitivity. 25. It is typical performance.
25.
It is typical performance. right? And if you add all these section raw score, tell me how much total you are getting.
11.
How much?
111.
111. So it is coming under definite difference. So you know what all areas you need to work on and what are coming under typical performance. So you know the child is performing at typical performance in under responsive seek sensation as well as visual auditory sensitivity. And he has got definite difference in tactile sensitivity, taste smell sensitivity, movement sensitivity, auditory filtering, low energy and weak muscles. Yeah. And overall also the total score is coming under definite difference. So that's how we complete and do the interpretation, and you need to give the interventions on all these systems where you are getting definite difference. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you all clear with how to conduct short sensory profile?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
In the next class, we'll talk about sensory processing measure and we'll cover the interventions also. Okay, so that will be your last class. So thank you all. Bye bye and good night.
Ma'am, can I ask a question?
It's regarding.
Ma'am, it's regarding sensory problem. A boy, can I ask? I mean, if you.
So what you can do is, let's say, when we will be discussing the interventions, no, after that I'll give you a chance to, you can talk about the, if still there are problems and you want to ask about a specific case, that time you can discuss, because till that time, no, we have covered the sensory processing disorders understanding we have already done, and what kind of interventions we need to do will also be done. Right, Pooja?
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Okay. Thank you,
And
ma'am.
we are finishing the class early because it's a 1-month course, right?
See, it depends upon, yeah.
Right now, it's already 9:51. So next topic, if we start, we'll not able to complete, no? So we have to leave it in between. So how can we start a new topic at 9:50?
No, she is not asking that. She is saying that we have completed this course before the time.
Okay. Is it?
So, you know, what I generally do is we
It
take
depends.
sensory profile and sensory processing measure as a separate class. And we do intervention on a separate day. So if that's the case, what we can do sensory processing measure in the next class and the intervention on the next class. Since your batch has done it in today's class only, so that's why I intended that we complete sensory processing measure and the interventions together.
Okay, okay.
You know, it depends upon the understanding of the batch.
Correct.
Yeah. If I felt that the batch is taking long time in understanding the concepts and whatever things we are explaining, that time we will be taking more time in giving you those concepts.
Okay.
Ma'am, if intervention will take more time, so we get one more class.
Definitely, that will not be a problem.
And can you take a revision class also? Because
No,
I
there
have
will be no as
little
such
doubt,
revision class. No.
because some doubts
Revision
are
class will
left
not be there. If
uncovered.
you have
Like,
doubt, you
See,
can ask.
you can ask personally for that. Maybe
But
that's
there will
a,
be no revision class.
yeah, that will be a personal problem or a personal case that you want to discuss on. So you can discuss or you can write it personally to us and we can have a discussion on that.
no, I said just because we have ending early, so maybe we can have a revision
No,
class
even
now.
then we do not have a revision class. If you want, we can have 2 classes. Okay. But
Yeah,
we'll not have a
we will
revision
split it on 2 classes. So sir will
That's
send
it.
you today sensory profile, the short sensory profile that we have done. So try to do it on somebody and we'll have a discussion on that day. And alongside we'll have a sensory processing measure also on that particular day only.
And the last day we'll be having intervention.
Yeah. So last class will be on Thursday then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ma'am, please share the social stories also.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah,
share
that will
that
be sure.
also.
Don't worry, Pooja.
Yeah,
Social
ma'am.
story I had already found, so I'll share that. Actually, the thing is that I have just changed my mobile, so the things are bit cluttered in my mobile.
No
So
problem,
it's
sir.
taking a bit time to get the right things from the right place. But social stories I was able to find today just when I am looking for the behavior modification details for your batch. So social stories I'll send tonight just
Yes,
now.
that was really very nice, and like it will be really helpful for me.
Social stories are very much details. Yeah, I'll be
Yeah.
having a lot of those.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, so I'll send those.
You all, bye bye and good night.
Good
Bye,
night.
ma'am.
Bye.
Bye, sir.
Bye, ma'am. Bye, sir. Good night, everyone.